Today we're going to build the Achilles expansion pack for the tank skirmish game. This pack contains 2 sprues which will build up into one plastic Achilles SP anti-tank gun. The pack also contains 1 Achilles vehicle card, 1 hero card, 2 crew cards, and 2 upgrade cards. The kit we'll be building is for tanks, but the plastic inside is identical to the plastic sprues in UBX-49, the M10 Tank Destroyer platoon box set for Flames of War. This box set contains 4 plastic vehicles, but since it includes 4 US Tank Commander sprues and a US decal set, it's primarily designed to build the M10 or M36 Jackson tank destroyers in US service. However, the plastic sprues for this kit contain all the parts to build either the 3-inch armed M10 Tank Destroyer, the 17-pounder armed M10C Tank Destroyer, and the M36 Jackson. Battlefront's website suggests buying BSO 194, the British Tank Commander sprue set, separately if you want to build either the British 3-inch M10 or the 17-pounder armed M10C from this box set. So now we know what products are available for these tank destroyers, let's look at the kit. So each vehicle comes on 2 sprues. This one has the upper and lower hull, the 3-inch 17-pounder and 90mm gun barrels, transmission cover and hull rear. The second sprue has most of the turret components, including 3 mantlets and 3 different breech mechanisms for the guns, as well as the one-piece tracks. It also has 2 types of counterweight, standard and the later duckbill. Detail on the kit parts is strong and crisp. These will look great assembled and painted. There are plenty of optional parts included, like armoured covers for the turrets and track grouses to go on the hull side racks. Both the M10 and M36 turrets are present here, and there are 3 mantlets and 3 breech mechanisms for the different gun variants. The one-piece tracks are well detailed and the pieces are keyed so they can't be fitted to the hull incorrectly. The turret counterweight shown on the left here is the later duckbill type for late war, but the kit includes the earlier angled counterweight as well. Let's move on to construction. The first stage is the hull, tracks and suspension. Snip the tracks from the sprue. The tracks and suspension are single pieces with good sharp definition and correct track details for T41 or T51 type tracks, which are characterized by smooth rubber blocks. Once the track pieces are free, snip out the hull parts. The hull top will need some careful cleanup of the sprue gates around the overhang area on the hull sides. The lower hull piece clearly shows the keying for the suspension to assure it's fitted in the right way around. It would be hard to get this wrong, a nice piece of design. Glue the outside of the lower hull and the upper and lower hull parts fit together. There are posts and holes to guide the alignment of these parts. Next, the transmission cover can be glued into place. This is the later one-piece cast transmission cover which replaced the original 3-piece bolted cover. The rear hull piece is next. There is a bit of a sink mark on the engine access door here, but this will not be very visible in the completed kit, and it would be easy enough to fill and sand this if required. Use the keyed posts and grooves in the hull to align and attach the tracks and suspension pieces to the hull. The final piece of the puzzle here is the hull rear and exhaust baffles. Cut these out and glue them into place on the back of the hull. The large grille engine covers on the back deck and the exhaust gas deflector baffles on this piece indicate this hull is based on the M4A3. Take care and this piece will fit without a gap. So that's the hull completed. There are additional parts like spare track sections, track grouses, spare road wheels and stowage boxes included on the sprues, but this is the main hull assembly complete. Construction now moves on to the turret. Note the detailed gun breech and options for duckbill and standard counterweights here. Snip the main turret pieces off the sprue. Make sure you're cutting these pieces for the M10 turret and not the later M36 Jackson turret. This helpful diagram from the Battlefront website helps you match the correct mantlet and breech for the different guns. In our case, we want the red pieces for our M10C 17-pounder. The gun breech piece glues onto the turret floor part. There are specially shaped cradles here to accept the forward parts of the recoil housings on the breech. Then the top of the turret glues on. Be careful here to get the correct alignment and hold the sides for a moment as the glue sets to avoid gaps. I'm using the duckbill turret counterweight, so these go on next. There are no guide pins here, but the piece fits together okay without them. Just take care with alignment. The M10C uses the 17-pounder gun. This is the one here, with the double baffle muzzle brake and counterweight. Fit the gun and the appropriate matlet together. They're both keyed to ensure correct alignment, but the fit isn't tight, so hold this for a moment to set. I'm not using magnets here, so I'll be fitting the plastic turret peg. This just glues into the hole under the turret. Be careful not to place the turret back onto the hull until the glue here dries. Glue the gun and mantlet onto the front of the hull. There's a groove and post here to aid alignment. Check the angle of the gun and adjust it to your preference before the glue dries. An optional 50 cal machine gun completes the turret assembly. This also completes the build. This is a complete M10C 17-pounder SP anti-tank gun. This is a great kit and was a lot of fun to build. It's the only plastic M10 available in this scale, and given it can be built either as the US M10 or M36, as well as a British M10 or M10C, it's very versatile. Here is the plastic kit compared to the resin version. You can see the turret shape is quite different. The resin turret is a bit elongated and the gun's about 4mm longer. The gun counterweight collar is also a bit larger on the resin kit. This made the plastic one look odd to me initially, but in the end I think the plastic proportions are closer to the real thing. I'll definitely be transitioning all my British forces over to plastic. Let's talk about Allied tank destroyer doctrine for a moment. One look at the armour stats here will tell you that these are not tanks. The American name for these vehicles was gun motor carriage. They're a self-propelled mounting for an anti-tank gun. In US service, the tank destroyer command was separate from the armoured force, and in British service these weapons were operated by the Royal Artillery. Drawing on lessons from Blitzkrieg in 1940, tank destroyers were designed to provide mobile anti-tank forces to blunt mass German tank attacks. Tank destroyers mounted heavy guns, often heavier than contemporary tanks, but were open-topped. Less armour protection meant less weight, which made these vehicles more mobile and faster than the tanks they were based on. Lack of armour wasn't meant to be an issue since they were supposed to operate from ambush, firing from prepared positions and quickly moving to new firing positions to avoid return fire. These units included strong reconnaissance elements to aim in setting up ambushes, a tactic that's represented by the ambush special rules for US tank destroyers in version 3 of Flames of War. In practice, Germans made more use of combined arms forces than mass tank attacks, and tank destroyers could be countered by the armour's supporting elements. While the heavier guns of the tank destroyers helped deal with heavily armoured German tanks, the tank destroyer doctrine fell out of favour after the war. Improvements in tank design meant these vehicles were better able to handle the anti-tank role without the need for a specialist vehicle. So here are the stats. The armour is thin, so don't try and take these head-to-head with enemy armour. Try and use them from ambush and pick off enemy tanks. The gun is a 17-pounder, which gives the tank destroyers a good AT-15 punch, with a respectable 3+ firepower. However, there are some limitations. The 17-pounder didn't have an HE round, so the no HE rule means it's only useful against vehicles and tank teams. It can't be used against infantry or gun teams. Slow traverse means the vehicle adds +1 when firing a turret-mounted weapon other than an AA machine gun at any target entirely outside a line drawn across the front of the turret before the turret rotates to face the target. This means the M10 is at a disadvantage when attacking off-axis targets. So a good punch but limited armour and some limitations to keep in mind when you're using these tank destroyers. In conclusion, this plastic M10 M36 kit is great. It builds up into a very nice looking vehicle. US players can build both the M10 and M36 from this kit, and the Flames of War plastic tank destroyer box set comes with crew and decals. British players can field the M10 or M10C from this box, but will have to buy crews and decals separately. This might change if a British box set is released at some point. The tank's expansions are a good way to get an extra vehicle, or to build a single before committing to buy a box set for Flames of War. Certainly I'll be replacing all of my old resin M10Cs with plastic for my own British forces.